Hi, welcome back to Sketch Magazine Podcast. I'm Robert. I'm here with Chris. Hey, Chris.
Hello. How you doing, Bob?
All right. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. It's early on a Saturday.
Yes, it is.
for
I've
me.
been here for a while. So today we're going to do something a little different. Instead of us just sitting here and discussing and cussing and doing all that part, you're going to do a demo for us.
Yeah, didn't it start with you asking, hey, you can show me how to do this because I want to learn Clip Studio Paint?
Yes, I do. I want to play around with it. I've got to do 8 illustrations for a novel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a traditional inker, never done digital inks. I do have Clip Studios. So yeah, I'm interested. It's little, I'm used to Photoshop, but then when I look at Clip Studios, I'm like, well, things are different here than Photoshop. And so I want to see how easy this is or how hard this is.
Oh, no, it's easy. There's a lot of Photoshop-ish things about Clip Studio.
Now, some of the things I love is the brushes, the use of brushes and stuff for doing stampings and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Those seem really nice.
They got all that in here. Yeah. So, yeah, you're going to like it.
Okay.
You're going to be like, oh, I didn't realize it was that easy.
Well, I hope so.
Unless I don't know how to explain things and I confuse the crap out of you.
Oh, well, that's sort of why I'm here. I'll ask the questions.
You're going to be like, what?
Sure. I'm like, what? What was that?
What the heck was that?
All right. Well, let's get to it. Are you ready?
I hope so. Yeah. Let me just share my screen. Do you see it?
I see it.
All right, here we go. So normally when you open up Clip Studio for the very, very first time, it's going to give you a basic document. Mm-hmm. I don't even remember the size, but this is what it opens when I open it. This gives you nothing. So I think after you've started using it for a while, doesn't give you that generic document. But so you're going to make a whatever illustration, so you can either go to File, New, or this is also the same, just like any other program, you hover above it and it gives you what it is. Okay. So here is your new, what's that called? Document. And you can create, an illustration. This is pretty cool. We talked about it, and it has a webtoon option that gives you your sizes already.
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask you. So the size are 11 by 17 by, is that 400 DPI?
I have it at 400. This is the generic one. When I do it myself, I keep everything at 600. I ink and do everything at 11 by 17, 600 DPI, because then I have this giant document that I can take a clip for clip art and not lose resolution. I can scale it down and change the DPI for print. And so I like to start big.
I was getting ready to say it can be also enlarged up for banners from 600 DPI. You're not going to get all pixelated. Being a printer myself, I love getting 600 DPI docs because it gives you so much mobility to use them. So no, that's great.
And this is a custom setting because these are, I think these are, well, it used to be Manga Studio. So a lot of these I think were
still anime, manga
sizes. Yeah, right. So, and then a postcard, but you just do custom. And for the longest time, it never gave you 17. You would type in 17 and it would give you 16.9 something. and then in the last couple of updates within the last couple years, it's finally giving you, basic color expression. I leave that at color because my pages are inked, lettered, bordered, and colored all at the same time. But you can change your layers to these options if you want to, which is what I do, which I'll show you in a minute. Basic color, white. Now, template, I have a bunch of different templates for Freaks and Gods that I use that I've created. But let's just go with just a basic. I'm opening it up on this one. This is kind of like a generic show all comic settings.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily mess with these. You can also create a Oh, that's printing for fanzine. Yeah, I was thinking that was book, but that's not what I was thinking. Okay, so just hit. Okay, so then here's your thing. Here's your page. Again,
Okay.
your first generic right off the bat. You get the paper and
Right.
a layer.
Okay.
That's everything right off the bat. And I have these options up here the way I like them. But, if you're looking for something, it'll be in here, and I'll talk about that in a second. So if you're going to start fresh from here, are you looking at inking something that's already been done or starting fresh?
I will pencil first. So it will be already a pencil page.
Okay, so you're going to have something to import then is what you're saying, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right, so to import something is as simple as file, import, and then they have all these options. Obviously, it's image.
Right.
So let's just grab a page from Freaks and Gods number 8. Let's grab something exciting. Here we go. Yeah. And because I have this at 400 DPI, right?
Right.
It comes in and it fits.
Right.
When I have it at my 600, I have to scale it.
Right.
So
Right.
that looks good. And what's neat is that it creates its own layer, and you still have that other layer.
Okay.
So
Let me ask some. So when you import it at 400, the image will actually come in smaller, and you'll have to scale it up the size. Right.
That's because this size that Giuseppe the penciler sent it to me was at 400.
400, right. So, this is sort of for people who aren't familiar with this. So you scaling that up the size, it might even raster just slightly, but it doesn't matter because this is just the underlaid image.
That's the underlaid, right. Now, what's interesting is they have all these different, a lot of ways to get to things are right click, and I'm using a stylus and a Wacom tablet, so I can't right click. I don't like the right click option on my stylus because it just always gets in the way. Okay. So right now, this is currently like I would want to say like a smart object, but not. You can right click and rasterize. If you wanted to fix this, like let's say I want to change the size of this frame, I would need to rasterize it. But you're absolutely right. As you enlarge it, it won't matter because you're going to be inking over it, doing artwork over it. And that's going to be the new and you can output that at any size and dimension.
Right.
So just for the sake of it, let's just leave it like this. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So let's just, if you're going to ink this, let's change this to like say 50%. And if you're a true traditionalist and you're like, well, what about my blue lines, right? You know how some pencils were in blue?
Sure.
If you want to do that, this is layer property, and I have it over in this area, but if you're looking for it, again, it's in window, layer property, and here is where, I'm going to need to change this. I think layer color right here. You can do, let me see, layer color, and wham, these are the default colors.
Oh,
because it's based on comic book work. So the default color is always going to be this non-reproducible blue or non-repro blue right off the bat. You've got that color, and it's at 50%, and the layer is at 50%. Believe it or not, when I ink, I leave it at the gray.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I just got used to it that way. But when I'm showing work or whatnot, I'll go back and change that layer to blue because a lot of people are used to seeing that. Right. Let's just leave this like that, right? And that's it because I changed it to 50%. So you can leave it here. I would normally just change this layer, but let's create a new layer so people can see how that's done, right? Right. So now you're going to ink. So how do you make a new layer? Well, that's down here. New raster layer. Okay. And then because you just double tap or you right click and you just change it to inks or whatever you want to call it. Now, so you got this ink layer. I called it inks, and it's a color, which means when you ink in black, you're going to have that anti-alias edging. Right. Which I don't like.
Mm-mm.
personally. It's if you're trying to select something, you're going to have a fuzz. If you use that to color, because you can select it and then take that selection to another layer.
Mm-hmm.
So what I always do for all my ink work is you just take the drop down and hit monochrome. Now that means that this layer is either going to be expressed as something black or something white.
Right.
And I always do that. And then you can even tell how the layer icon changed.
Mm-hmm.
And what's nice is even with this monochrome, you can still do a layer color change to any color you want. This is how I change like energy blasts and stuff like that. And then you're ready to ink.
All right.
But now you're into the brushes.
Uh-oh.
Right?
This is when it gets fun. Yes.
This is where it gets really fun. Let's just so you know, I am a huge shortcut guy. So P is brushes, or you just hit pen. Is what it's called. But I call them brushes because within there, right now I have the default brush, and let me see here. This is called the sub tool. So within brush, there's pen and is all this.
Mm-hmm.
Your different brushes. And as you can see, I've made some.
You made a bunch.
Now, this is the default brush that I've tweaked a little bit to see you understand that. Now, this one I've adjusted. This one I've made. This one, a turnip. I don't know why it's called that, but I love that for feathering. So here's your default brush. And right now we are at 25%. So the lines look really, I'm at 40 for the size though. That's not right. I usually ink, honestly, between 12 and 15. That seems to be a good size, so that when it's reduced down, it looks like a normal, that was one of my major problems when I first started using this was, how does this translate to my brush? What size is that? 15 to 12.
And to anybody who's saying reduce down, they need to remember we're inking at 11 by 17.
Yep.
And it's going to get reduced down to 6 3/4 by 10 1/8 as a finished trim size. Right. So that's going to make anything you ink at this size tinier. So if you ink a real thin line here, it's going to get thinner or almost gone when you reduce it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thanks for reminding me of that. I would have just started jumping right in.
No.
So I don't even know where the zoom is on here. I just do space bar and control, and that gives me, I'm on a PC. So if you're on a Mac, I don't know what that would be. So here's Half Man. Now, with these brushes, when you first get it, when you first open it and start using it, when you draw a line and release, it seems like the line just kind of keeps trailing. Have you ever run into that when you tried to use it?
Yeah. It's sort of a little frustrating when you're a newbie.
Very frustrating. So under this brush, which is the tool properties, again, if you don't know where any of these sub-tool properties and the tool properties, they're all under window, and you find them, and then you can arrange them over here or over here, however you like. Okay. I'm left-handed, so it's just easier for me to go over to here to get my tools than it is to. So there's a wrench, and this will show you the different parameters and the values for this particular brush. Okay. So you click that and you get this. This looks scary.
Yeah.
What's really cool is that when this is up, you can still draw.
Yeah, I see that.
So you can make adjustments and test it before you close it. Okay. So there's you see brush size is pretty obvious. Now the brush size, and this is true for all the settings, over here next to the size it's at, there's a drop down to adjust the setting for dynamics, pen pressure, and stroke speed. If you're inking with a mouse, don't. But if you're using a Wacom tablet, which most people are, if they're doing, or even there's a whole bunch of other companies that make them now too. It's not just Wacom. I have the pen set to pen pressure. Now, if I turn that off, whatever you do down in here, it'll show you the representation there. See, so now no matter what I do, it's just a flat line. No matter how hard I push,
Right.
basically turning that brush into a pen.
Right.
So to change that, just go back in there and turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I mean by I took the basic default brush and I altered it. I have it set to here, but it was curved way down here. And you see how that thinned that line out?
Yes.
Did you see that? Just want to make sure because I did it. I
Yes.
don't like, this is more brush-ish.
Right.
This is more crow quill
nib.
pen.
Yeah.
So I adjusted that, you know.
Okay.
What's neat is that with tilt, you know, the tilt of the tablet, I've never really dealt with that. The velocity linked to stroke speed, I've never really dealt with that.
Okay.
And the random I have with other brushes,
Okay.
but I'll just show you what it does. See how it kind of makes it look really dirty now? Like it's broken up?
Mm-hmm. Like a dry brush.
A dry brush or a really, really crappy, almost on the last Link's nib, crow quill.
Yes,
but you can do this and get it even more like, so it's got just a little, are you seeing it change right here?
Yes.
Yeah, you can get it so that it's, you can go to 100, it makes no difference, but like it's just a little dirtier of a pen, maybe even more realistic than you want, than what people think digital can get.
Right.
I don't use this for my brush because I find that when I've inked traditionally, which I did that for a long time,
yes,
when my brush line started looking like this, I threw the brush away.
Gone.
I bought a new one, right? But yeah, you just turn that off, and then it's back to a nice line.
Yes.
So let's show you the one thing that like really just drove me crazy. It's under correction, taper.
Okay.
When you get this default brush, this taper is like way over here. So it's at 50. Watch what happens when I draw a line. I lifted up here, but it continued way up there.
Right.
I mean, it's really annoying if you want to just see that was supposed to be this.
Right.
Okay, now let me turn that back to 0, and I'll do that same stroke again. See?
Now you can do some cross hatching and some. Yes.
Right. So this taper is the one thing that drove me crazy I have to tell you, this right here was one of the things that kept me away from using this program for probably about a year. I couldn't find it. I didn't know why it was doing that. It was so frustrating. I guess I should have Googled it, but I thought, I got other things to do. So I just went back to my traditional stuff.
Right.
But yeah, that is.
Since we're talking about this, let me ask you, we keep going back to the Wacom. Are you using different pressures, or is it just sit it down and draw?
Oh, no.
Because I know there is a pressure sensitive.
It's pressure sensitivity, and that is also what this is back to side. That's what this is, settings of pen pressure.
Right. So you start off light and you push down.
I'm starting off light, push down hard, and then
just like you would with a crow quill.
Or a brush.
Or a brush.
And basically you're maxing out at the size of the brush.
Okay.
When you're pushing down, that's the max size of the brush. Here, I'll change this to 40. Okay. This is light, heavy, light, heavy, light, heavy. And then a quick flick for feathering.
Yes.
And when you get to the larger sizes, though, it's really hard to get a nice. I guess that's not bad. But if I put that to see?
Yeah.
That's so
nice.
That's I do change the brush size to a giant size if there's like a hand way up close or something, and knowing that I can create these beautiful thin to thick, which that's one of the things that I just love about inking is that variation that people are like, oh, what's the big deal? Well, with a thin to thick line, you can show shadow and shape and form on an arm or a leg or a fabric, just like that with one line, and it's beautiful. Okay, so then that's just your basic brush. This is what comes again, and I've made some changes to it. Brush tip, right now I have it at circle. but we can show how you can add a material to that. Spray effect, stipple, that kind of stuff. Now, I'm thinking as an inker, but a spray effect and a shape to a brush would be great if you were painting.
Right.
Or doing some color work. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The stroke, with this kind of a brush, it's that if you do fixed, you can change it and watch what happens when I make it big. Now it's just dots. Because remember, your brush shape is really just a dot.
Dot, right.
And you're telling it how to respond. So that might be cool if you're doing some, I don't know, but I usually keep it there or I put it at the wide and it removes that and it's just one smooth line.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a brush. And then you just, and I should say, there's no, once you've made changes here, it changes it and it right there. You don't need to click save. It's changed.
Okay.
So if you change your this to whatever and you're looking to save, no, it's done. It's already saved. Okay. So just close it out. So let's take a look at the crow quill brush I made. This one is, see how sharper that is?
Yes.
Okay. You go up to the options. And what I did in here was, again, turn that taper all the way down.
Right.
Now, I should have mentioned this before with stabilization. Stabilization is basically right down in here. If you have a shaky line, it'll smooth it.
Okay.
And I have this up to 15. So you put it down here, and I go, right?
Right.
I put it to 15 and go, see, it stabilized it as I did it. Mm-hmm. This is odd. This is kind of a weird thing to say, but I actually am happy about that because I'm afraid that as I get older, I might get more wobbly, and then the software will adjust it and make me look good. I don't do any post corrections because, well, here, let me just show you. I have the post corrections at 2. Let's put it at 40. So I do a nice circle and it straightens it out.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't like that because I actually wanted that circle.
Right.
So I put it at I think that's the lowest I can go. Can I go to 0? No. Nope. Yeah, you can. But I had it at 2 because it's a little. And let me see here with the brush tip, brush size, I have that pulled a little bit. So it's because, as you know, with a crow quill, you can't get those huge variations because it's not a brush.
No, it's not.
So you can get some variation, but not like you could with a brush.
Right.
So what I have on this one, and I'm not sure where to find it, is I have this sharp edges option clicked. Where is that? You see, it's not in spray, brush tip. No. Is it in correction? Yeah. No, that's enable snapping. Oh, up here. Sharp edges. Okay. What that does is, let me just get rid of this because I have it turned on in here. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back and explain that. See these little eyes?
Yes.
Every one that has you can turn on, it will put this option in the property panel over here so you don't have to keep coming back to here.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. So if I put post, if I click this, now it's added in here.
Right.
I don't need that, so I'll turn that off. That's what those mean. And that's true for all these settings. So you could literally turn all these settings on, but then your property panel will be way down to here.
It would be.
Okay, so let's turn the sharp edges off and watch like this part of it when I flick it. Okay. Oh. Now I turn it on.
Looks more like a, yeah. Looks like you're taking a crow quill and starting and ending.
Right.
And which a crow quill has a sharp point.
Right. Yeah. That's just a metal nib with a split in it that holds ink.
Yes.
So as you push down, the nib opens up. Right.
Yes.
But it also has this cool option that it's on. See how did you see that right here?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it really depends on the angle you take. He did it there too. So
Yes.
I like that because like with a crow quill, you sometimes things happen while you're inking with a crow quill that looks really cool, and it's just the nature of the tool.
Yes.
So it's really good to have that kind of an option in there.
Okay.
So, and I made this one based off of their what they call a G pen. Now, I took their G pen, which I believe is a manga term for a tool.
It is.
There's a lot of them, right? So I took that one, and I think this is the one that I adjusted. Yeah, I added so that it's not as sharp, and the pen pressure is just generic. It's flat. And I have this random, so it's a little dirty. And I also brought the minimum value of the pen pressure in by 9, and I'll show you what that means. See how this line goes from thin to thick?
Yes.
The minimum value that it will start at when you draw is 9.
Okay.
And you're like, what does that mean? So if I drag this to 20, now your line's going to start off kind of like a pen line.
Right.
No matter how hard you could do all the way, which then just looks like a pen.
Right. It does.
So I put mine at 9, 10, and then it because you can't, some tools you just can't get that always perfect sharp, because to me that always perfect sharp looks digital.
Yeah, I agree.
And I like to try to keep my inks looking. Well, remember back in the day when I started using this and I inked that one piece that Willie Peppers penciled, and he thought you were like trying to trick him to tell when you told him I did it digitally, and he said no, he did that on paper and he inked it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep, no, and that was my approach to using this software, was to just always look like I'm doing it traditionally. However, as time has gone on, I've discovered really cool shortcuts and things that used to take me a lot of time that I've now found a way to automate. And maybe we can finish this up with one more final demonstration of brushes. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Uh-huh.
Okay, so I make them under marker, but it doesn't really matter where you keep it. I have a pen called Crosshatch.
Okay.
And when I draw, and there's no pen pressure to this, there's no pressure sensitivity. It's either 50 or 20. By the way, the bracket keys on your keyboard will change the size of your pen.
Okay. Oh, bracket keys up and down.
Right, bracket, yeah.
Yes.
So you draw a line. Oh, I should really have kept it larger. And it's that pattern. Now that is a crosshatch pattern that I used to always do traditionally. You remember back in the day? Yeah. Oh my God, if there was an open area where I could toss in some texture or something interesting, this is what I did. And you can just, and this mimics, let me go up to the felt tip pen here. This mimics going like this.
Yes.
How did I make this? Well, here, it's really simple. Here is the tools for this. Now, in brush, I think it's in shape. Yeah, no, tip. I made 4 lines. Okay. Should I just redo it really, really quick so you can see? Do we have time for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got time.
Let's start. I will take just a regular, I'll take this pen, and I will, and I know that I'm drawing over him, but there's nothing on, it's not on the layer.
Right.
Oh, this is going to be a different looking one. Okay, so I drew 4 lines, right? Uh-huh. Then you can take your selection tool, select it, and then go to edit, register material, template we could talk about next time, image. Okay. And then I know I didn't select perfectly, but really all that's on that layer that I selected are those 4 lines. Here it is. Right. So you name it. Let's just name it demo. Down here, use for paper texture? No. Use for brush tip? Yes.
Okay.
Scaling, this is for pasting options. I don't worry about that because I'm not pasting. I'm going to be using this as a brush.
Right.
Specify for layer, not doing that because it's going to be a brush. Where am I going to put it? These are steps you have to do. It won't, you see, is it here? Oh no, image material. And I have it in brush. And then you have to add a tag for a search. So I'll just do demo brush so you can see it. Okay. You can add as many tags in here as you want. So like if you've got if you're making a texture that you only use for say stone, you can write demo, stone texture brush. But that you know what I mean? And then when you search for stone or texture or brush, because you can add more, it'll come up. And then you click OK. So now you can get rid of this because you don't need that.
Right.
And then let's go to P, which is pens. And let's come in marker. Let's take one that doesn't have any settings to it that we can use. So you can either do new. Actually, this is create a copy of current selected brush. Okay. I do that because I'm just lazy. Because whatever copy you do, you can make all the changes inside that brush and make it that new brush.
Right.
And you can change the tool icon, just for yourself. Right. But let's just leave it at the marker.
Okay.
Click OK. And then whatever new tool you create goes to the bottom. Okay, so here it is. It's basically the felt tip that I just did.
Right.
Okay. So up into here. So you've got the demo brush, tool properties. Click that. And here it is. Brush tip. Right now it's set to circle. Go over to material and you click this to add brush tip.
Okay.
Or you can click right there too. Because it even says click here to add brush shape. And I have made a lot.
Yes, you have.
Plus the ones that have come with the software. So remember, I did demo. Little Demon. I used that for an issue of Freaks and Gods. So you take what's weird is you click it. You see how I clicked it and it went away when I went to OK? It's almost like you have to click it twice to let it know you're serious.
Oh.
Okay, so this does not look at all like what we were talking about, right?
Right.
Okay, so this is set in there, and right now it, let's see, can we change the size of that so we can see it?
Oh.
Yeah, okay. I could have also actually just done the bracket keys. So you can see I'm in brush tip. Here's the thing that we just put in, this image. And you can change it horizontal, vertical, whatever, but those have things to do, an angle. That has something to do if you're trying to make what's called a ribbon. And we could talk about that in a later video, but a ribbon is like, let's say you're going to do vines or barbed wire, and you have a piece of artwork that can be repeated. A ribbon will put it on one long line for you constantly, so it looks like barbed wire. But we don't want that. So we go to, let me see here, stroke. This is where you want to go to the fixed, because now I can space them out.
Okay.
Now, right now, it's just doing that.
Right.
How I do it, it's doing that.
Okay.
So you can space it how you want, but ultimately, once we do the spray effect, we're going to have to come back to the gap. So then we go back to the brush tip, and to get them to change so that they're just the angle, if you click this button right here, adjust the settings with dynamic. Okay.
Okay.
And you go to random, and automatically it looks like the brush. Now, I have it at 100, and you can put it to, I don't know why you'd click random and put it at 3. There's no difference.
Not a whole lot of difference.
Right. So you can, 50, however you want. 100 look fine.
Yeah, that looks pretty
for
cool.
me. But I don't like how sometimes they overlap a little bit.
Right.
Maybe too much. So that's when you can go back to stroke and adjust how far they are. Or maybe you're like, maybe I want them really overlapping. You can bring them closer together. Let's see how that looks.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that looks nice for a nice little texture.
Yeah.
But to try to replicate this sort of look. Okay, now I'm just going to say this. If you want specifically this look right here, then I'd recommend just doing that. Because I have done this in the past, not used my crosshatch brush. I've just done this. Right. I want that look. But I love how you can, let's see if we can get this changed a little bit more.
Well, see, I can see where you would use a brush on like a background texture, building, anything. But then if you're working on something on a character, a forefront figure, you might want to go in and hand do
it yourself, right?
Just to give it another layer of not being digital, of being done. Yeah.
See,
I like that.
The thickness, as I drag the thickness, watch what it does to. It's actually thickening up the lines and bringing them closer together, or making them. Oh yeah, well, that looks pretty cool. I like that. I might actually change the name of this and keep it. I like that. But you know, keep it at about. I always keep these normally at 100.
Okay.
So, and then you can also, you know, direction of pen. It doesn't really seem all that different. But yeah, that is basically how I create that brush. And what I also do, and you know I use this a lot, like let's say I will make a selection. I do this a lot because I just love the look. This is a fast selection, so don't say I don't know what I'm doing. So you have that selection, and you could fill with black, which is cool. Okay. But what I like to do, not all the time, because you can't do it all the time, because then it isn't, you know, it's at 100. I like to fill some black areas with the crosshatch brush.
Right. That gives you that feathering effect.
It gives that gritty, dirty kind of, and I do that kind of a lot for backgrounds and some characters, because I also think it looks kind of like gritty and dirty. So I use that for a lot of characters too, like King of the Living Dead. I'll color all the black areas on his clothing and his face, because you know he's rotting and he's a zombie. So
right.
But yeah. But
very
you
cool.
could just do that, and you've got your nice background. Yeah. So that is basic setup.
Yes.
And brush controls. I did go over the layers.
Yes.
Because to me, this layer right here, I have it changed to monochrome, and if you zoom in, the line is either black or white.
Yes, that's nice.
And that's what I like.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, word of advice: when you are going to make a special custom brush like this, you'll notice that when I made these lines right here, I drew them rather large right here in the middle. Don't draw them the size you think you're going to want, because that's going to really mess up when you're enlarging or shrinking down that brush.
Right.
Because if I drew the lines at this size, made the material and added it, trying to enlarge it to 200%, you would not get this nice line.
Right. So it's always better to go large, and so that it reduces down.
It can shrink down, right? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't draw the entire page 4 lines. I mean, that would be
right.
That would be a lot. But yeah, I mean, just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Because if you change your layer to the monochrome, you will have even more pixelated ends. Final note: I think when you are inking in Clip Studio and you zoom in, I'm only at 200%. You zoom in and you're thinking, wow, those lines look my lines look broken apart and they're pixelated. That's going to look horrible when I export. No, because when you export, you tell the software how big and small you want it. The way I've always gotten it. Now, if someone is actually from Clip Studio or they've talked to them and they find a different reasoning, let us know. But what I think we're looking at here is a low res preview of what you're inking and what you're working on. Because if it was actual full size, I think your system would crash.
Yeah, it would have used
personally. I think that we're looking at a low res, a high performing thumbnail. That's what I think. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But yeah. So there we go, sir.
All right.
You
That
feel like
is
you could
awesome.
pick it up and just start doing all your illustrations now?
How about if we come back? So yeah, hey, I feel more comfortable. I feel more comfortable at least diving into and opening up a page and messing around with brushes.
Right.
So you game to come back and maybe ink that head up for us and sort of show us?
Can we do it in old man time lapse?
Sure.
It's a Mark Carilli comment. It's an old man time lapse.
Old man time lapse. Is that slow or is that real fast?
That's fast.
Okay.
All right, old man time lapse. I never thought of that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, we could get some of that inking done. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds
I just
cool.
think it would be cool to show how you rotate the page to be more comfortable with the Wacom and just sort of different things like that, you know.
Right. Okay.
We don't need to ink a whole page, you know.
Yeah, because that would take hours.
That's a job.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
job.
That's a
job. Yeah.
That's my job.
All right. Well,
right.
This is sort of an intro to Clip Studios. And hey, Chris is the pro here. He's got it down. We just seen a brush. And I've seen many of Chris's brushes used, and they're awesome. And maybe we could twist his arm and come back and share a little bit more with us.
It's not going to be that hard. I love doing this.
Also, Chris is putting some time-lapse videos up on his own channel.
Yep. It's just
highlighting Chris Dreier. And it's highlighting Freaks and Gods, which is currently coming towards the end of the Kickstarter.
By the time this video is out, yeah, it's probably going to have a day or two left. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're funded.
Yeah, I got funded like 5 days in. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that is great.
But there's a lot of cool stuff coming up. I'm told. Yeah, some really cool stuff. I actually did some of the graphics for it. So yeah, it's some cool stuff.
Yeah. So go to Kickstarter. Look up Freaks and Gods number 8.
Actually, no.
Volume 2.
Volume 2, number 2.
2. Yeah.
Which, if you're keeping track, which is hard at times, is number 6.
Just look up Freaks and Gods.
Yeah.
It'll show up.
Yeah. There's 2 of them up there. One is closed. The other one isn't.
True. Also, I'd be remiss not to mention that Sketch Magazine now has a YouTube channel. So go search that. Subscribe, please. Also, Sketch Magazine has a Kickstarter launching May 2nd. I just finalized a video for it today.
I set my reminder on that.
So, all right.
Yeah.
You can go to Kickstarter, search up Sketch Magazine. You can click it. It will send you a reminder. And I think I'll add that to the bottom of this video also.
That's a good idea.
Click it and add a reminder. So, hey, we'll be back either discussing and cussing how to make comics. Maybe that's a new name for this show.
Discussing
and cussing how to make comics.
But we don't really do a lot of cussing.
Oh, no. It's too hard to edit those out in video.
Oh. Well, maybe with the name we could. Just click not intended for children.
I do that anyway. You never know.
You just never
know. No.
Yeah.
So, but we will be back next week.
Yes.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.